might have come from somewhere else, but this is where we found ourselves. Welcome to the local show. People you work with, people you know.
Welcome to another edition of the local show here on GrassRoots Community Network. I'm still Erik Skarvin, your host, guys. Thanks for joining us as we work our way through the winter series. Very excited and honored to have a first-time guest on the show. It's not his first time in the studio. He's been our executive director for almost 25 years of GrassRoots Community Network. Our executive director, John Masters, is on the show this week.
Thanks, Erik.
Welcome to the show, John.
Thank you.
Over from a big commute over from your office desk to the studio
it's nice
here.
To, every once in a while you got to sit in the back seat and see what it's like riding around back there. So it's good.
And we got so much to get to. It's like I almost wish this was a one-hour show because there's so much just in GrassRoots TV history.
There is
that we could go through.
We could go for an hour, but
we could easily go for. Maybe we should.
Let's see how.
You're the boss, man.
Let's see how it goes.
Let's see how it goes.
That's the great thing about GrassRoots is you can go however long you want to.
Right.
However long it should be.
It's called free range, right?
That's
free
right.
range
free
TV.
Range. Free range TV. That was an old slogan.
A lot of freedom of speech going on here. And we were chatting a little before the show about your background, which I thought would be a logical place to start because many people don't know your background. So maybe a brief like highlights of your background, including your Aspen story.
Sure. Okay. So I grew up in Southern California in the San Fernando Valley. Surrounded by people that were in the film business, and so it was normal to think that could be a career choice, right? But back then it was television. Well, television was New York and L.A. really, and the film industry was Hollywood, of course. And I really didn't want to stay in Los Angeles, and so I'd spent a lot of time in the Sierra growing up, and spent a lot of teenage summers up on a cattle ranch up in Northern California.
Nice.
And I fell in love with small towns and the mountains, of course. So I didn't want to. I really didn't want to go into the business in LA, and ended up at the University of Oregon, and I really loved Eugene, and I loved the U of O. Yeah. And they had this little tiny television program. They had an old studio set up in the attic of the Villard Hall, the original building at the University of Oregon. It was in the attic. Somehow they made room in the attic up there for this studio. And we had image orthicon cameras that were, they were made in 1957.
Oh my God.
Black and white, the I Love Lucy cameras, the cameras themselves were, this big. They weighed about 400 pounds. The tripods had to be heavier than the camera. So the whole rig was about 1,000 pounds. And had to roll those things around. And so nobody really, it was antiquated, of course, at the time, as antiquated as it sounds. And it was about the age of, well, 3/4 inch tape, and there was portable video, and so things had gotten smaller, and so nobody wanted to play TV in the studio. I thought it was a gas. I thought it was really funny, and the control room, is this giant switch. There was it was like Jules Verne technology. It had brass rivets in it, and like the fader bar was this giant bar to fade from one camera to another.
Jeez.
And it had turret lenses, so everything was a fixed lens. So, but you could change the lens, but you had to turn the whole lens piece to a different lens, that sort of thing. So it was really, and everything was falling apart, and we had we were constantly fixing things. This is as as college sophomores, we were like, well, this thing doesn't work, and there was an engineer there, and he taught basically, well, here's how you fix it. And so I kind of got into that. It was kind of fun, knowing how the equipment worked and how you repaired things. And finally, Dan, the engineer, this old guy, that was his realm, his little kingdom up there, up in the turret of the building. And so he just threw me the keys. He says, you do whatever you want in here. Nobody else is going to. So it sort of became my studio, and I mean, nobody else was using it. So me and my friends who weren't even in the program, I had a friend who was a playwright and some other, just college buddies. And so we made TV shows, black and white TV shows, and wrote the scripts and did pretty inventive stuff. And they had a film chain, so you could run 16 millimeter film and then cut it with the live video. So we tried that, and I shot a bunch of 16 millimeter film, and we I don't know, it was a lot of fun. So it would fit me perfectly, and it also prepared me for GrassRoots, where you got to know how to do everything. Everybody's got to wear all the hats, and you got to know how to fix equipment, and you got to work with some old stuff, keep it working, make it happen. And so it was fortuitous as that's where I went to school. I ended up my first work in the business was at Mammoth Mountain, and I helped build a video department there, take it from just being like shooting race training and that sort of thing, which Mammoth was way ahead of everybody. Because Dave McCoy, who of course built Mammoth Mountain, right. He was the women's U.S. women's coach in the late 50s, and he introduced using film analysis. So they were shooting 16 millimeter film. And then when video came along, handheld video came along, they started shooting video. But we took it into the next level. I like to say I was part of that. And we became really a production house for the ski industry, doing training videos for the National Ski Patrol and the PSIA. And then, of course, training films for... I did a whole training series on lift operator training. Wow. That was we tried to make it funny and had a sense of humor and it was a multi-part series. So anyway, that was a lot of fun. Ended up kind of peaking out there for different reasons. And one of the guys that worked with us had been in Aspen. And Mike and I, Mike said, "Hey, let's move to Aspen," And so, I when I was growing up, I had an Aspen poster on my wall, and Aspen was sort of like this mythic place.
Yes.
And it was sort of at the sort of the, if not the pinnacle of American skiing, sort of the what do I want to say? It's mythic. It's a part of the myth of American skiing, And so I thought that was a good idea. And I actually had come here in summertime, researching for Mammoth Mountain how video was being used in the ski industry. And I stopped by GrassRoots when it was out at the ABC.
Okay.
Yeah, and to see what GrassRoots was about. And it was pretty pathetic, really. I was like,
so
wow,
primitive compared to Mammoth.
Compared to what we were doing, and also no funding.
Yeah. I
mean, really no funding. They were shooting on VHS. We were shooting on 3/4 SP. A step away from going digital at that point, and they were shooting on VHS, and they had so little money that they were just reusing VHS tapes. So now I realize there's all this stuff from the late '90s. Oh, I'm sorry, from the late '80s that doesn't exist because they didn't have any money to buy VHS tapes.
Oh and then they're recording over that.
So they're recording
programming.
over all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
So we've lost.
Oh, geez.
The community lost a lot of stuff there by not just even basically funding GrassRoots, but still it survived until. Anyway, I moved out here in '91. I had my own production company, and while I was doing that, actually it was Bob Bowden, who was on the board of GrassRoots, and Bob was a client of mine. I was doing some real estate stuff for him, and he said, "Why don't you come over and look at GrassRoots? I want you to come over and look at GrassRoots." There's more in there. We ran Channel 8. A partner and I ran Channel 8 as a cable access, or cable station, local origination station in the parlance, and so we had Channel 8, and it was a sort of guest information channel, and so anyway, Bob said, "Take a look at GrassRoots. What would you do? Because it's going to go out of business. The board would like to save it, but we don't know what to do." And so I gave him some ideas, which was primarily unlock the front door and answer the phone, because I can't seem to get into the place to find out anything about it.
Accessibility. Yeah.
So your whole thing is public access, and there isn't any.
Right. Yeah, fundamental right there.
Yeah. So anyway, he said, "Fine, you want the job," and
Which means there needs to be a person there on staff to allow the doors to be open, correct?
Yes.
Or was there,
yes. Well, there
was some staffing.
There were two staff members.
Okay.
Anyway, I took the job because it was I had a young family at the time, and Bob guaranteed a paycheck. He personally guaranteed it. He was a board member, and he said, "I'll personally guarantee your salary." Okay, and so he says, "But I don't want to do that forever. We need to make this thing work." So anyway, first thing I did was there was no revenue. There was no revenue. I was like, "How does this place work? How do you make any money doing this?" And they were surviving off of a city grant. It was like $50,000 for the year. Lived off of that, and some other donations. It was like there wasn't any money, and so I said, "Well, you got to start creating revenue streams," and which means anyone who uses staff time or the equipment or whatever needs to pay something.
Right.
It doesn't have to be a lot. In fact, it can't be a lot because it's an access issue. You're right. You don't want to create barriers, but it can be affordable, and we need to create an affordable environment where the community starts using it and starts for its purpose. And I didn't really understand what the purpose was. So, sorry if I'm going on here.
No.
Is this interesting? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I was like, what is this place? What is the point of this? Because I've been in either corporate video or commercial, my own commercial station, and that was just, well, you try to in the corporate world, you are supporting the corporate mission, and you're supporting the different departments in that corporation or within the industry and all that. And in commercial television, well, you're just trying to get an audience and sell commercials.
Right.
You're selling advertisements, and it's commercial media. This is neither of those, and so I started digging into the old files, and I found a piece written by John Smith, who was the founder. Yeah, and an important part of GrassRoots, Jackson, is tolerance and acceptance of all voices and everyone. But so you need to be quiet. Jack.
He's exercising
Jack. No.
his freedom of speech
Yes.
is being
well,
exercised.
but that's not appropriate at this time.
So
Okay.
Jackson and Marley are having a little dynamic here today.
Yeah.
As they get their, well, Jackson's got his TV legs and Marley's developing her TV
Well,
legs.
Jackson's not that.
He was just mellow.
No, he's yawning.
Seemed like John Smith got him excited. So
Yeah.
John Smith.
So John was the founder, and you know why GrassRoots is here is
Right.
is a. I take it all the way back to Elizabeth Pepke, but and her vision for what Aspen could become. Everybody gives Walter all the credit, but that's just because he found the money. I think it was really Elizabeth was the visionary, and her thing was that Aspen was not the Aspen idea or the Elizabeth Pepke idea was that it's not to have the wealthy and famous and powerful come here and recreate. That's not the point. The point is to create an environment where the local people in a small town up in the middle of the Rockies can enjoy and have access to great ideas, great art, great culture, a lifestyle of living in the mountains that enables the improvement of their minds and bodies, and ultimately improvement of society and their own joy in living, their spirit.
Yeah.
Okay, and so and the way you do that is that when you bring folks in from outside that are important or are wealthy or are great artists, great thinkers, that the locals can participate in that.
Right.
And eventually it starts priming the pump so that the community itself becomes a leader. The community itself becomes artistic and a spiritual center and a place where everyone lives a healthy life. Okay? That's the idea. And that's the GrassRoots idea also, is that and John Smith said it, that a community, a town is not a community unless it's constantly talking to itself and constantly sharing amongst itself its ideas, its endeavors, its dreams, its challenges, and they can all communicate with each other and create an inclusive community where people feel a membership of that community. Everyone feels that membership of community because everyone is accepted and everybody's ideas are accepted, and that's how we all grow and reach our full human potential. And that's what this place is about. And once I understood that changed my whole perspective of how you use media. And what you do is it's not top down, it's bottom up. It's grassroots. It's enabling other people. Okay, and this doesn't happen in any other media. Although with let's say with open source web now that's happening. YouTube's a great example. I mean, GrassRoots is original YouTube, where you get to create the programming on your own channel, right? I mean, they took it right from community television. YouTube did. And so that's what it's all about. And so you get to do that, right? And you get to, Erik gets to ask friends and neighbors and people who he's interested in or are heroes and have them come in and share with the audience, with this community, not the whole world. That's not the goal. the goal is here. We're sure we're on the web and we're on YouTube and we have, over 1 million views a year and all that, and from all over the world. And so we're showing this great spirit of Aspen to everybody who's watching all over the world. But the important thing is that we get it here and we get to know each other a little better and understand what makes this place so special, right?
So you had to get back to like the mission, like the original mission and the idea and the concept and the philosophy, and its community, creating content for the community. It's a gathering place for the community to actually come together in the studio space, but also for the community to watch, through television, which, like you mentioned, is now online, through YouTube. Mm-hmm. But it's created at a grassroots level. Like, anyone is welcome, because this is America's original public access TV, not just public access, the original one.
That is what's so awesome.
Which is unbelievable.
That's what's so awesome about saying we're the oldest or the first or all that. That's not the important thing. The important thing is that there were people in this community that invented the idea of a community media center. It was in Aspen that the idea was first imagined and followed through on, actually created it. And the other things, there's so many grassroots firsts. It was community members who came into grassroots and borrowed cameras and walked into the Pitkin County Commissioner meeting with those cameras. And the commissioner said, "What are you doing here?" They're saying, "We're shooting this meeting." And they said, "Oh, no, you're not. Like hell you are," I think was what the line was. And they said, "Sorry, would you say that again? We weren't rolling."
Yeah, right. We're not going anywhere.
So that was the first county commissioner meeting ever televised in the United States.
Wow.
The Pitkin County.
Wow.
The City of Aspen City Council meeting was the first city council meeting ever televised in the United States.
Wow.
This is years before C-SPAN.
Wow.
Nick DeWolf created a community intranet, where he put his own computers that he built, like at the Old Little Nell, at the chamber, at his house, somewhere else, library, where you could go type on a computer. This is in 1981. Okay, this is before there was an Apple. Okay, before there was a PC, and you could go type and actually he made it so you could upload photos on the computer and share them on GrassRoots. They would appear on GrassRoots TV, and then somebody from another computer could respond to you on a different kiosk. Okay, wow. That was the first time. That was the first social media in the world.
That's incredible.
Was on GrassRoots.
That's incredible.
The first, they called it the moving media. We got to go.
We're going for an hour.
We're going for an hour. Okay.
If it's okay with you.
So the movie map, which was it was an MIT idea out of the media lab at MIT to come to Aspen, and they used GrassRoots cameras, and they mounted them on a truck, a carryall, an old international carryall, they put like a surf rack on top of it, and they put these cameras on top of it, put GrassRoots cameras on top of them, and they drove up and down the grid in Aspen in the summer and in the winter, and then they put them on a laser disc. Okay, back in the day, you had a laser disc as it looked like an LP.
Like a record album.
Yeah, like a record album, and
oh my gosh.
And you could navigate through Aspen on video, you know. And so you go up to the corner of Spring and Hyman and go, well, I want to turn right, and I want to turn right in the winter, you know. And you could do that, and it had buttons that you could with your with a cursor that you use buttons, you know, with up and down buttons, the cursor to click on certain things. So it was almost a graphic user interface, and you were controlling what is today Street View on Google, right? And it was the first one.
It's like cutting edge technology.
And the first time anybody ever saw that was on GrassRoots, where the MIT guys showed what they were doing, how the movie map worked was on GrassRoots.
Wow.
You know, for years, GrassRoots was the only television station in the nation that had programming about climate change from the Aspen Center for the Aspen Climate Change Institute. For years, okay, no other television station in this country would touch the subject. And it was the California Senator Feinstein on GrassRoots said, I am not allowed to mention climate change on television in California. They simply won't. It's like, you're a United States senator and you can't bring up the subject? It's like, not on commercial television.
But it's okay to talk about on GrassRoots
but
TV?
But you talk about it on GrassRoots.
Wow.
So, you know, there's this.
Pioneering in a lot of ways.
Well, it's because we're open to any idea.
Right.
Right.
It was literally public access.
It was
and you can
public
speak
access.
your piece, and even if it's
Yes.
controversial, you know.
You can do things that are controversial. You can do things that are experimental. You can say whatever you like, except unless it's hateful, and bring up whatever you'd like. And people used to do this all the time. All right. I mean, it used to be. GrassRoots really was an open community forum in a community that was very outspoken and was not shy about stating its mind, and it had a great sense of humor about that too. You know, get us, we've got these crazy ideas and we're gonna push them out there. That's all changed for lots of different reasons. First of all, you got the internet that's just, you know, neck deep in crazy ideas. Right.
This is pretty well covered now. Like
yeah.
it's a lot of the craziness is out there, and it's saturated.
Well, you can't get any crazier than what it is online, right? I mean, everything's there.
Next level crazy.
Go ahead, and not only that, it's become mainstream.
Yeah.
I mean, misinformation is now mainstream. It's how you communicate. It's how, you know, political leaders communicate is with misinformation.
Let's just take a moment
Sure.
for a quick break.
Oh, we do need a
We're
break.
about halfway through.
Yep.
I need to rehydrate.
Yes. Okay. Good.
And you might want to get a sip too. But this is so great. We're going to go into current GrassRoots TV opportunities. And what does the future look like, guys, including AI with television? It's going to have an impact. We probably won't go too deep into that, but we got to get to some things, including, again, how you can take advantage of your community TV station with such rich history, going all the way back to 1972 and those first hippies that were, we've got some fun images we'll pull up in the main body. Well, now we're into the main body of the show. We're going to take our only break of the show, guys. We'll be back in 2 minutes. We've got our executive director from GrassRoots Community Network, John Masters, so don't go away.
Want to live like a local? Help us reduce food waste, a major contributor to climate change.
You can help in 3 simple ways.
Plan menus carefully and only buy what you need.
Collect unused scraps for compost. Buy ugly fruits and vegetables.
Reduce food waste.
Live like a local.
Brought to you by Paradise Bakery and Gelateria, serving Aspen for 42 years. At the Wheeler Opera House, we set the stage for connections that create memories for our audiences, artists, and greater Aspen community. At the Wheeler Opera House, all are welcome. You're welcome to be a part of history.
From Olympic Podium to Aspen Real Estate, I'm Chris Klug, and I know what it takes to succeed. As an athlete, I mastered perseverance and strategy, qualities I now bring to real estate. Whether you're buying or selling, my dedication and commitment are unwavering. Together we'll navigate the market and achieve your real estate dreams.
Locally owned and operated, Local Spirits has low prices, a convenient location next to Exxon gas station with parking, and is Aspen's exclusive cigar dealer. 3% back with our loyalty program. Sundog Athletics, Aspen's adventure sports school and snowshoeing specialists since 1996.
Welcome to the local show. People you work with, people you know.
Thanks for sticking with us here on The Local Show, a special 1-hour edition. We've got our executive director, first time on the show in 20 years of broadcasting The Local Show as the longest running local TV show. Hope you checked out our fun anniversary show. John, did you catch that with John Oates?
Yeah,
that was a fun show we shot
good.
a couple weeks ago. And
yeah, John's a great guest.
John's a great guest, and it's so fun to, I mean, there's a part of me that wants to yearn for Sarah Smile and She's Gone, but also bringing people like we're about to do into the current time. What's going on now? What's next? You know, it's fun to talk to guests about that. As fun as it is to go down memory lane, 70s Aspen was the time I fell in love with Aspen as a kid here on vacation. And I'm seeing the hippie chicks and the rock stars and the ski bums, and everyone's so tan and so happy. And there was just a vibe, you know, and I was on the young side, maybe 10 to 14 years old, but I knew, like, this is cool. Like, this is really cool. And so that part of Aspen and GrassRoots history, starting in 1972, is very rich and very much a foundation for the station. But it also fit into that mind, body, and spirit that you mentioned, which was the Pepke family philosophy. Pussy Pepke was her nickname, and she was quite a spark plug, you know, known around the community. Her and Jack Nicholson would have some cocktails over there in the West End, not too far from here. She was a very dynamic lady. So GrassRoots really kind of fit into a lot of the Aspen cultural aspects, the philosophy of Aspen, developing mind, body, and spirit, bringing community together to do that, bringing in outside talent. When Schweitzer came here back in the day, and then the list goes on and on and on of the world leaders we've hosted here, many through the Aspen Institute. Let's talk about your show as we kind of fast forward into the early 2000s, into the next millennium now. Ski Bum Theater. You started that was that in 01?
In 2001. I want to touch on the 70s for a second.
Yeah, please do. I love it.
I think that, you know, the reason that community access television was born in Aspen in the 1970s was because of the community that was here at the time. Yeah. It didn't happen anywhere else. It happened here. And it took off throughout the country. At one point, there were about 2,200 community television stations in the United States, producing by far the most content of any type of television, far more than commercial television was. And it was just regular people creating all that programming all over the country. What's really important is right now we have the opportunity to we're sending off 700 tapes from the 1970s into the 1980s to be digitized through a grant that the Mellon Foundation, in combination with the American Archive of Public Media and the Library of Congress,
Wow.
are funding this. And so we're saving those early shows, what are left, and they're on open reel-to-reel tape, black and white. And luckily, fortunately, we live in a cool, dry climate, so that they're actually fairly well preserved. We have, besides those 700, we have about 17,000 other programs on tape that people haven't seen since they were produced.
Oh my gosh.
So that all needs to be digitized, and that's an enormous effort, and it takes professional archiving, and it takes a lot of machine time and human time. And you know what? We're really fortunate that we found out about this Mellon grant actually from folks next door at Aspen Public Radio. And their intent was for public television, not community television. But they said, no, you fit sure, do it. I just got an email the other day from them as we're about to ship these things off saying we're going to be the last ones, because they were planning on doing a lot more because of the present administration in Washington.
Yeah.
And cutting, just slashing the greatness of America is what they're slashing. Yeah. That's my point of view, folks. They're aiming at the things that make America great and destroying them. And one of them could be the Library of Congress. And so that's what they're concerned about. The Library of Congress itself, while it's not presently under threat, they are concerned about their future and if they have the capacity to continue this program. So
There's a bit of whitewashing of history in that mix.
There is.
You know,
there is.
Scrubbing out of certain aspects of history that's been documented on film or video or wherever.
Particularly
you know,
the liberal democracy side of history, you know, the free thinking side of history. And
Exactly.
so that, in order to preserve it's important that Aspen preserves its own history anyway. And it's important that we preserve these videos that community members themselves created over the last 5 decades, and are able to share all that on multiple platforms for free with anyone who wants to see it, and that includes historians and you know, cultural historians, anthropologists, you know, whoever in the future is interested in this, sociologists, friends and neighbors, people who used to live here, the people who created these videos. And for us to understand, you know, we are standing on the shoulders, we are sitting here because so many other people before us made this happen, kept it alive, because just enough people, what is it, 3 votes was the difference in the red brick being here as opposed to luxury homes?
Exactly.
Okay? So, you know, we're here because of what people did before us. And those people are on these videos. You know.
Reminds me of when there's shown in recent months of Rachel Richards lobbying for Save the Red Brick. Mm-hmm. It's going to a community vote. Yep. I can't remember if she was an activist or actually in a political office at that time, whatever the case may be. But that's amazing because there's so many like pivotal points where GrassRoots just kept going. Like it was funding shortages, but someone would save it. And then the facility of the building itself is now up for grabs into free market homes, which we know are 70% not occupied now in Aspen. And it was moving in a direction of this would have just been scraped and, you know, privatized. But that was 3 votes, which also says that your vote does matter in a small town, especially.
Totally matters.
But all these
matters.
times were times GrassRoots could have gone down.
Yeah.
But
well,
people stepped up and stepped up.
There was a point in 1980, 81 where the entire staff and board quit and left a camera on a sign that said, anybody want to do this? The door's unlocked.
Up for grabs, yeah, like just anyone want to take it.
Okay, so that happened once there, and it happened just before I started here, a few years before I started. When I started, there was no budget. There was no, I call me crazy. I took this job. Actually, Bob Bowden, guaranteed my salary. Thank you, Bob. Because there was no revenue. So and the reason that happens is because, I guess this is my point about going back to the 70s, is GrassRoots reflects the community consistently. It consistently reflects the community. As the community evolves, GrassRoots evolves. The programming on GrassRoots evolves as the community evolves. And it also, if the community, if this idea of community, if the real community is robust, then there's a lot happening here. If the real community becomes incredibly transactional like it did in the late 80s into the 90s, where everything was about, God, renovating real estate and flipping real estate, and the whole community changed, in 80, well, Bob Browdis said that John, you just missed it, the fun police arrived in 85. And so the community basically disappeared there for a while. I think it came back, but it's always a struggle. There's always a, I think it was Paul Anderson talks about this, and is the clash or the 2 strands of DNA of Aspen being the Platonic triad and the Machiavellian triad, and they work off each other. They sort of attract and repel each other, and sometimes one is dominant and sometimes the other is dominant. GrassRoots is all about the Platonic triad, and we're non-commercial. We don't really participate in the fame, wealth, and fame, wealth. What's the third one?
Power.
Power.
Yeah,
and you mentioned that there's all these famous, powerful, wealthy people that have come to Aspen, and certainly they're an important part of the fabric of the community, no question. But they're not really a part of what GrassRoots is. Sometimes Madeline Albright, talk about famous and powerful. She used to stop in and just use the bathroom, sort of thing. That's how familiar she was with GrassRoots. So certainly we've had, and we have great, famous, powerful, wealthy people on tape. We've got a great interview with
RFK.
Well, we got RFK.
That's airing right now.
RFK Jr. But he's just having his 15 minutes right now. Steve Jobs.
Oh.
In 1983.
Oh, wow.
Talking about, this is just the year, 1982. 83, that's right, the year before the Mac. And talking about the future of personal computing. And it's an incredibly visionary piece. And it's just a Q&A in this tent with at the Aspen International Design Conference. Okay, so we got to preserve all this stuff, folks. That's what I'm getting at here. Now, back to your point about.
Let's fast forward to
Great.
Ski Bum Theater.
Ski Bum Theater.
Because that's your manifestation of producing. I'm going to produce some content as the director.
Yeah, but what we really wanted to do, first of all, the idea for Ski Bum came from when I was growing up in Los Angeles. there were local television stations. There were commercial television stations, but they were locally owned.
Okay.
Non-network, independent stations.
Right.
And they would have kind of goofy programming on it. And one of the things they had was this guy, and if people are my age, if you remember back wherever you grew up, there were travel log shows.
Right.
Okay, and this one was a ski travelogue show, and this guy had he had his like Marine butch cut, and he had his Norwegian sweater, and he had his little after ski boots back in the day. They had little leather ski boots. He had a little zipper on the side of them. Maybe had a little Edelweiss something or other on him. This is this big guy, and he was like from Wisconsin, and he'd go, "Oh golly, been out skiing with the wife, and we took the dog, and boy was it a good time, it wasn't too cold, and so but we got some film of it. We shot some film up there, and by golly, let's take a look, and so and he had this fireplace, and he had a Saint Bernard,
nice,
and he did these, and he'd narrate these films that he shot himself, Okay, so there's that was one influence. The other influence, of course, was Wayne's World.
There you go.
Having the couch and just having no rules to the technical production. Okay,
Right.
That was essential to Ski Bum Theater. It's like there's no rules. We're not following any preconceived notions of what television is supposed to look like.
Right. Freestyle. It's
It
kind of
was-
like
it
just
was
let
free-
the cameras roam and let the psychedelic effects happen
and
just be creative.
And the director could do whatever they wanted to do, and it had nothing to do. Even though I was the producer of the show, I had no control over the director or whatever the director wanted to do. And that was Brad. It was
There was
perfect.
exchanges
It was
between you and Brad.
Right. In
Like,
fact,
hey, Brad, I need this, and Brad would kind of like, whatever, man.
Well, and so
I'm
actually,
ordering a pizza.
one of the best ones is is the show we're showing this week, which is with Sven Kummer,
Yes.
who just passed away last week, folks. And
Yes.
and Sven was a giant in the ski industry, and he was a good friend. And I'm going to get emotional about this. This is why GrassRoots is important, is we were able to shoot this show with Sven, and he was able to share this great ski trek, and you've watched the show.
Yeah, it's
And we'll maybe show a little bit of it right now, of that he did when he was young, from Innsbruck to Grenoble over the backbone, along the backbone of the Swiss Alps.
incredible.
And a part of him, I'd known Sven for 25 years, and I'd never known this part of his life, and so anybody who knew Sven, and even if you didn't know Sven, get to know him a little bit by watching Ski Bum this week, and it's also on GrassRootsTV.org and on our YouTube channel, and so. But that show is also a great example of Brad, the director, freelancing, and I remember being pissed off while we're doing that show because I respected Sven so much,
Right.
and Brad was showing like disrespect to what we were talking about, and that kind of pissed me off at the time. But it's like it's funny now because it's like that was the vibe of the show.
Exactly.
That was the whole idea, was this free form television, and the reason we did that, the reason we did Ski Bum, and it was really fun. It was great for the entire staff because we had a big staff back then. It's funny, we're back down to 2 that we started with when I started. But we got up to about 8 people, plus interns and all kinds of things there when we were really busy in the mid-20 teens, pre-COVID. It was great camaraderie for the crew, because it took everybody. So if you come in and do a TV show, we're not going to have whatever the 6 people it took to make Ski Bum, that were behind the scenes on that. But it was really fun. We all had a ball doing that show. So but the main thing is we wanted to show that no matter what your idea is, you can do it here, right? And you can make a fool out of yourself. You can. It's fun,
You can be irreverent. You can be creative.
Yeah.
And it's like your palette to paint on, right? You come up with a concept like you did based on, some other programming. You did Wayne's World, this guy from Wisconsin, my home state. Yep. Oh, yeah, they're going to go show the UP, skiing up the Powderhorn this weekend or whatever.
Yeah, and that's what he was doing.
And they take that concept and they can run with it here.
Yeah, and I'd been collecting ski films. If you've been collecting some films, if you got some great, like Super 8 movies of your family vacations in Hawaii back in the 60s or something, let's show them to people and narrate them and talk about them.
Right.
And
just have fun with
anything goes. Or if you're out there with your GoPro making ski films with your buddies, let's show them to people on television and on the GrassRoots YouTube channel, because we've got 18,000 subscribers. A lot of people will see your stuff if you share it with the community. And so a lot of what I'm wondering is there's all this access now, with video phones and with being able to post to all kinds of different platforms. And I wonder why most people do it. And I think they do it because the same reason that you do something at GrassRoots is it doesn't matter how many people see it. Right? It doesn't matter how many people watch GrassRoots. It doesn't matter how many people watch the local show. Numbers don't matter because we're non-commercial. And that's the beauty of being non-commercial, is the numbers don't matter. What matters is that the people who are interested in the technical details of teleskis can watch your last week's show, which we unfortunately haven't aired yet because our computer died and we needed to buy a new editing computer, and that is what we needed to buy a new editing computer, and that is what happens at GrassRoots all the time. Okay? And it has
technical difficulties.
It has for 52 years. We've been bumping our ass on the ground for 52 years here, but gratefully, the real people in Aspen continue to support GrassRoots and realize its importance. There's a lot of stuff going through Aspen that is, that is...
Jackson, he concurs.
That flies right over the top of GrassRoots. That isn't really... It's kind of jet setting right over us.
Right.
But the real community, it happens here.
Let's just interject real quick because we're down to 2 minutes to go. But the key is to take care of studio expenses, which is quite affordable. And the way I've done it is, and I think you did a bit of that with Ski Bum Theaters, find underwriters.
Yes.
People or businesses or organizations, whether in my case, Wheeler Opera House or Haiti Children, that will help fund your show. You can decide the frequency, right? It could be once a week, once a month, whatever, a couple times a winter. But people can kind of create, right? They have flexibility.
Yeah.
You guys are available. I mean, this is the community producing for the community.
It's just a couple $100 and you can find, if it's your own little business, if it's your mom, if it's your buddies, give you $50 a piece and you can all do a show.
Yeah.
It's awesome and it's fun.
It is.
And that's why you do it. That's why we did Ski Bum. is that it's easy and it's fun, and we make it easy. We eliminate the barriers.
Exactly.
You know, and so it involves.
It's not about the money.
It's not about the money, and it's not about you don't have to know what you're doing, and that's the important thing.
Right.
In fact, it's almost better if you don't know what you're doing.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So
It's entertaining.
Yeah.
And one quick example is Kathleen Callahan was a guest of mine.
Yes.
In the summer, she now has her own show.
Yep.
Something with, what is it, Connecting with Kathleen. So that was an interesting progression from guest to hosting her own show. Deals with mental health issues in the Valley.
Yeah.
But that just shows, again, it's available for anyone, you know, living in the Valley. And I think even visitors who come into the Valley.
Yeah, sure.
But we got to wrap. So guys, I hope you enjoyed some of the history, some of the opportunity that still is Grassroots Community Network. Since 1972, we're here for you guys, and we need you to be involved. Thank you for watching this week on The Local Show, and thank you, John Masters, for joining us. You've earned some cookies.
Oh, thank you, Erik.
'Cause that's why we're all doing it, really. It's fun and cookies.
Yeah,
it's not about the money.
Well, it's really, thankfully, it's not about the money. All right,
It's about the
Jackson.
dogs. See you next week, guys. At the Wheeler Opera House, we set the stage for connections that create memories for our audiences, artists, and greater Aspen community. At the Wheeler Opera House, all are welcome. You're welcome to be a part of history.
Living in Aspen is more than just owning a home. It's about embracing a way of life. I'm Chris Klug, and I've spent my life immersed in everything this mountain community has to offer, from skiing and snowboarding to art and culture. I understand what makes Aspen special. Discover the Aspen lifestyle with a broker who truly understands it.
Want to live like a local? Help us reduce food waste, a major contributor to climate change.
You can help in 3 simple ways.
Plan menus carefully and only buy what you need.
Collect unused scraps for compost.
Buy ugly fruits and vegetables.
Reduce food waste.
Live like a local.
Locally owned and operated, Local Spirits has low prices, a convenient location next to Exxon gas station with parking, and is Aspen's exclusive cigar dealer. 3% back with our loyalty program. Sundog Athletics, Aspen's adventure sports school and snowshoeing specialists since 1996. Brought to you by Paradise Bakery and Gelateria, serving Aspen for 42 years.
Welcome to the local show. People you work with, people you know.
It's Aspen television, man.
TV.
People are gonna expect something from you people.
That's true. Nice. The man's giving us the money. The man's giving us the cameras.
But we're not doing what the man said.
Whoa, say that again, man. That was...
The man is giving us the cameras.
That is right on.
The man has no idea.
The man has no say. It's just us out there.
It's the money's coming from us, and it goes to the man, and the man is giving it back to us.